Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another Monday night fire, giving, of course, all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashima Mashiach, Wamalak Bashai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting and laboring for the second coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai. A hearty, mighty Shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to the all of those men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom to those men. Shalom to the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters out there, zealous, diligent, and on fire, and moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom to the ancient men. Shalom to the children. Shalom to the elect of Israel scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to everybody tuning in live for another Monday night fire. Vernon Brody, Don Israel Tamid, Yazian David, Yehuda Yisrael, Brother Azariah, Shalom, King Quadan, Yasha Allah 12 Yakad, Abayanam, Yasha Allah, and everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. This is a Q&A Passover condition. It's like a Q&A Passover edition, right? Q&A Passover edition. Passover's April 11th at sundown. I know certain brothers, they kept the Passover already. I know some are keeping it at the end of this week. I know some are keeping it April 11th along with us. So this is a heavy season that Yahweh Bashmi Abishai has on the earth right now. Right? You have many feast days. You have a lot of righteousness that the Most High has put forth on the earth. And like I always say, when you have feast days and you have holy days that come in back to back to back, you have to be mindful of the adversary and Satan, who works just as hard on the left-hand side to tempt you, overthrow you, entice you, and seduce you. So don't be simple, right? Don't be simple regarding the times that we living in through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Abishai. Be mindful of the adversary, right? Before we get into this Q&A, I want to get this precept in the book of, let's go to 2 Chronicles, right? I sent this out earlier. I'll read it. This is 2 Chronicles chapter 18 and verse number 18, right? Introductory precept before we get into this Q&A. Again, he said, therefore hear the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh, Bahashmi Abishai, sitting upon his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing on his right hand and on his left. So on the right-hand side are all of your righteous spirits. This is what the prophet Micaiah saw in the third heaven. The Most High showed this to the prophet for our learning, that we may understand a little bit, right, about what goes on up there in the third heaven. One of the events that happens on a day-to-day basis is the council of judgment. He saw all of the righteous angels sitting on the right-hand side of the Most High. You got Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, spirits of humility, spirits of boldness, righteous spirits of charity. All those spirits are up there in the third heaven. Everything's orchestrated by spirits. And on the left-hand side, he saw spirits. But those are evil spirits, which we call demons, evil angels, if you can understand, right? Spirits of lust, spirits of folly, spirits of adultery, Satan, Asmodeus. All those demons stand before the throne of the Most High. And they're there all the time, every day, right? Verse number 19. And they impact you, man. They impact you. When you're studying for a long time, that's a spirit on you. The Most High sent the spirit of to study on you, man. Right? When you're bold in righteousness and you deny worldly holidays and folly and evil, it's not you that did that. It's the Most High who put a spirit of boldness in you, man. So everything's, again, orchestrated by the spirits. Be mindful how these spirits are going to and fro on the earth. Right? Verse number 19. And the Lord said, who shall entice Ahab, king of Israel, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one spake, saying after this manner, and another saying after that manner. So the Most High said, this guy's wicked, this king. Who's going to get him to die? I need this guy to die. Anybody got any plans? Anybody got any ideas? That's what the Most High said. He's asking the angels, what are y'all plans and what are y'all ideas how we can kill this guy, man? So one angel spake and said, you know what? I can do this to him. Another angel came up, said, you know what, maybe I could, do this. So they're giving their ideas, and the Most High is just sitting on the throne, waiting for the perfect idea. Right? This happens all the time. This is not a one-time event. So when you're going off and you're going astray, even if you're going on the right path, there are counsels up there in the third heaven for the Most High to test you, man, to tempt you, to see if you're really in this faith or not, to prove you. How are we going to get this brother to see if he's really righteous? Well, okay, you know what? I'm going to be a spirit, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to be a woman that he never met before. I'm going to be the woman of his dreams. I'm going to be a woman, she's going to pop up at you at the damn gas station, bus stop, your workplace, and he's going to fall victim and commit adultery. Right? I'm going to set $10,000 that belong to another brother in front of him, and I'm going to see if he's going to take it. So these spirits, that they operate, man, by the Most High. Right? But let's get straight to the point. Verse number 20. Then there came out a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith, meaning how? You see, the Lord didn't rebuke this spirit. The Lord didn't say, well, what are you doing? You're going off. Why would you want to entice man? Don't do that. The Lord said, how you going to do that? The Most High's with this, man. So if you're getting enticed, the Most High sending spirits to entice you. You got to be mindful of that. And he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And the Lord said, thou shalt entice him, and thou shalt also prevail. Go out and do even so. And the Lord did that, man. The Lord put a lying spirit in the mouth of all of his prophets that made him believe that he was going to win that battle. So this is a beautiful account that shows the judgments and the counsels that go on in the third heaven. And these temptations that you go through and these spirits that you battle, the Most High is not ignorant of it. He's the one that sent these spirits on you to see if you're going to endure, right? So with this Passover season, there's a lot going on through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. We're going to deal, if there's any questions regarding the Passover, we're going to dive right into it. Okay, Shalom, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, right? Barakatha, can you bring out precepts about fasting on the Shabbat? Yeah, I'll get a precept. Now, I do want to cater these questions to Passover, but let's go to the book of Matthew, right? Let's get 2 precepts. We want to be quick with these questions, right? Or quick with the answers, right? Get straight to the point. Let our speech be much, comprehending much, or let our speech be short, right? Comprehending much in a few words, as it is written. Ecclesiasticus, Matthew chapter 4 and 2, right? And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. So Yahushua was without sin. We all understand that. A lamb without spot and without blemish. Obviously, Yahushua fasted on the Sabbath if he fasted 40 days straight and 40 nights straight. He would have had to fast it on the Sabbath, but it wasn't a sin because he's a lamb without spot and without blemish. It's not a sin to fast on the Sabbath, but traditionally speaking, for the Israelites, it was not comely, neither was it always wise to fast on the Sabbath. This was an exception that Yahushua did because he was fasting for a lengthy period of time. And that's really one of the only exceptions that a brother should make. Again, you could fast any day, but you'll find yourself understanding that the Shabbat is to rest your body, right? And it's really categorized in Leviticus 23 amongst the feast days. So you have to also take that into mind. It's a holy convocation. So they would come, they would break bread, they would, drink the wine, eat the bread, and they would come together on a Shabbat. So if you came to the Shabbat and you were fasting, everybody kind of knew it. And the point of your fast is for everybody not to know. Now, I want to get another quick precept. I said I would get 2. Let's go to Judith, the 8th chapter, right? Let's go to Judith chapter 8 and verse number 6. Now, here's about her piety, right? Judith 8 and 6. And she fasted all the days of her widowhood, save the eves of the Sabbath and the Sabbaths, and the eves of the new moon, and the new moons, and the feast, and the solemn days of the house of Israel. Right? You see that? So she fasted all the days of her widowhood when her husband died, save meaning except. Save is old English for except. She didn't fast on the eve of the Sabbath. Why wouldn't you fast on the eve of the Sabbath? Because that's what you call the preparation day. And during your preparation day, that's when you're getting a lot of your work done, right? You know, the sun is about to set. You're doing last minute errands. You're moving things around. You're doing some cleaning. You're doing whatever you have to do. People are drawing water from the well, and they was getting the cattle in. So the eve of the Sabbath was a lot of work. So you didn't fast on the eve of the Sabbath because most of the work was done that day. And she didn't fast on the Shabbat because that was a day of rest. And she didn't fast on the eve of the new moon for the same exact purpose that she didn't fast on the eve of the Shabbat. She didn't fast on new moons because those are feast days. She didn't fast on the Passover. You can't fast. Don't fast during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Well, I'm doing a 14-day fast. I'm going to just go through. Don't fast during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Well, yeah, I was shy. I'm going on my 40 days and my 40 nights, right? Who does the Lord think he is? I can do that. Oh, well, brother, you're not going to make it, man. If that's your attitude, you're competing. You're trying to see if you can one up a brother. And even in its simplicity, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you're commanded to eat unleavened bread. It's a commandment to eat. So you can't fast on that day when you're commanded to eat, right? So that's a little bit about fasting on the Shabbat. All right, let's move on to the next question. All right, King Jenks, servant 144K. Seeing that the Passover / unleavened bread is approaching, and the last 7 days are we allowed to work, considering those are feast days? So for the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the first day is a Sabbath and the last day is a Sabbath, right? So let's get that. Those are days that you are not allowed to work, right? Let's get that. So you have particular. Let's actually get this real quick. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 23, and I want to read verse. No, I want to get straight to the point. Right, this Leviticus chapter 23, and we'll start at. Let's see where we want to start. Let's see, Leviticus chapter 23 and verse number 7. It reads, I'll start at 6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. So be mindful of that. Every day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, starting with the Passover, you must eat unleavened bread, right? You can get creative. You can have the classic unleavened bread. Hey, the commandment is you must eat unleavened bread. And the first day, and you got to be mindful, man. It ain't really a time to be, going out to eat and, because you don't know what they're putting in that food, man. You don't know if they put yeast in that or not. You want to do a lot of home cooked meals, and you want to be mindful of what you're eating during those days. And the first day, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. So the first day is a Sabbath. That's why it's called a holy convocation. You're commanded to gather together, and you cannot do any servile work. Servile meaning work, hard, laborious work that servants would do, right? Such as drawing water, hewing wood. In today's time, it would be work for hire, right? Work like painting a fence, cutting the grass, chopping down some trees or some wood in your backyard for firewood. That's servile work, and chiefly work that you would get paid for, right? So the only work that can be done on the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is work that pertains into the feast day, right? Maybe you're hauling the lamb, maybe you're bringing in the food, right? Maybe you're carrying the utensils, right? You're getting the grill going, you're lifting up charcoal to burn the lamb, and you're getting yourself together. You're doing work, but the work that you can do and the permissible work is the work that pertains to the feast day. That's the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day, the sixth day, you can work. Let's read Leviticus 23 and 8. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. And the seventh day is an holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. So the first day is a Sabbath, and the last day is a Sabbath, right? Of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you cannot do any work during those days, right? So let's get Leviticus 23 and 38. It reads, I'm gonna start at 37. It reads, "These are the feasts of Yahweh, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, a burnt offering and the meat offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon his day." Right? Because when you read the book of Numbers, chapter 28 and 29, it goes into the details of what has to be offered on each day of the feast day. Day one of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, here's what you offer, right? Your Passover. Day two, you do this. Day three, you do this. For the Feast of Tabernacles, same thing. It tells you everything that must be offered for those days. Verse number 38 in Leviticus 23. "Beside the Sabbaths of the Lord, and beside your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, which ye give unto the Lord." So you have your weekly Sabbath. That's what this means, beside the Sabbath of the Lord. And you have other Sabbaths, right? So you have like the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a Sabbath, and the last day is a Sabbath. Now, this year, Passover actually falls on the weekly Shabbat. It falls on so-called Friday night at sundown, right? So that goes into that, King. That answers that question, Most High will, right? Let's move on. Trying to go through these. Okay, Shalom. Once we become pure. Okay, well, I will deal with this, right? Again, I want to try to tackle. I'm gonna prioritize questions that pertain to the Passover, and then we'll go back and we'll deal with other questions. All right. From Stefano Kennedy. Shalom, King. We know that you have to discard the food left after the Passover ceremony. Does that mean for 2 to 7 days, when you make unleavened bread, you need to discard it after? No. What that's talking about, we'll get the law. It's saying that pertains to the lamb, right? So the lamb that you cook for the Passover, that lamb can't be laid up to the morning. You have to burn it, right? So no leftover lamb for the night of the Passover, right? Let's get the precept. Let's go back into the law. Let's go to Exodus, the 12th chapter, right? So this is Exodus chapter 12 and verse number 8. "And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it." So you can't put your lamb on a skillet. You can't put it in the air fryer. You can't put it in your crock pot. You can't put it in the oven on 350 for 5 hours. No, your lamb has to be roast with fire, right? Over open fire, you know? And you have to have unleavened bread and bitter herbs, right? Bitter herbs are like horseradish, ginger root. You want to get into those harsh, bitter herbs, right? And accept the bondage and accept the suffering and accept this captivity and the bitterness that comes with this truth. Embrace it, right? And eat it, right? Learn it and accept it. Verse number 9. "Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs and with the purtenance thereof." So you're supposed to roast the whole lamb, right? You can't eat it raw, medium well, medium rare, all of that madness. Make sure your lamb is done. You can't boil it. That's what it means, sodden it all with water. Roast that lamb with fire. Verse number 10. "And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remaineth of it until the morning, ye shall burn with fire." So you burn that lamb with fire. That's the night. This is the night of the Passover. So let's say it's the second day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And you decided to, you have to make unleavened bread, and you ate it. Like, man, I made too much. Oh, I got to burn it with fire. No, you don't have to burn that with fire. You can save it for the next day, right? You may have made unleavened bread and, some bison and some, you may say, oh man, I got to burn it. I didn't finish it. You don't have to burn it because you didn't finish it. Get some aluminum foil, get some saran wrap, wrap it up, put it in the refrigerator, take it out, and you might eat it tomorrow, right? Only on the night of the Passover do you have to burn that lamb, right, through the spirit of power of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. Okay, I see Amos back here. Hello, King.
Shalom, King.
How you feeling?
And doing, man. No need to complain. How about yourself?
Maintaining all praise to the Most High.
All praise to the Most High.
All praises. You want to get on this question right here?
Shalom, King. Oh no, I mean it's kind of self-explanatory. I heard you kind of going into it, but yeah, no, and that comes with discernment as well, right? Not trying to be, over righteous and buy the most lamb. If it's just you and your wife, right? Get enough of a decent portion that you can eat the Passover the right way, so you're not being wasteful and just burning up the lamb.
Right. Yeah, that's off. That's off. Brother just want a bonfire for the Passover. All right, let's see. Okay, Terry Jacobs. Shalom. And again, we're see a lot of questions that don't pertain to the Passover. Most High willing, we can get those, but we dedicated a set time strictly for Passover questions, right? And we'll do other Q&As in time to come, Most High willing, on other questions. Or you can put them and we could do videos on them. You can type them in, whatever the case may be. But from Terry Jacobs, Shalom family, are we supposed to be in a sad mood or a happy mood? Right? You got it, King.
Let's go to Leviticus 23 and we can start at 15. Right? So the Passover, to put our mind frame as our forefathers and foremothers in ancient Egypt, Passover was a serious time, right? It was a lot of uncertainty. It was hectic, shall we say. It was very hectic, right? So in Passover, we're supposed to be in the same spirit that our forefathers were in. They ate it in haste, loins girded, men had their staffs in their hands, right? So it was a very stressful high holy day, right? But this is Leviticus 23 and 15.
Okay. You want 15? You want 5?
Yeah, let's start at 5. We can start at 5. Right, it says, in the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. 7 days must ye eat unleavened bread. Right? In the first day you shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. Right? So it's a Sabbath day. Right? From the 14th sundown to the 15th sundown, no manner of work should be done. Right? You shouldn't be trying to scrub the windows when the sun goes down, vacuuming. Right? It's the Lord's Passover. Right? I'm going to keep reading. I'm trying to get to where it was a solemn assembly. Right? But
go ahead, King.
I'm going to just keep reading on. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto the Lord. 7 days must ye eat unleavened bread. Right? And also that goes into preparing your household, getting rid of all leavening agents in your household, right? Whether you want to keep them in your car until after the Feast of Unleavened Bread is done. You may have a storage unit out back that you don't have attached to your house. However it may be, you want to get those leavening agents out your house and do thorough, checks on all ingredients, right? It may be something on there that you may have overlooked, or something monosaccharide gluteomax, and you don't know what that is, right? Now is the time to thoroughly look all the way through everything that's listed on these ingredients to make sure there's no leaven in your house, right? Verse number, I believe I was on 8. Right, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days, and the 7th day is a holy convocation. There should be no work therein. Right? So there's no work on the first and the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Right? I don't see where it says a solemn assembly. Hold on, let me
It's there's one precept.
It might be
Deuteronomy 16. Now it tells you on the 7th day in Deuteronomy 16 and 8. But It's only the seventh day. It says 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do it's like thou shalt do no work therein.
Okay,
Now,
yeah. So it's you got it, King Salaki.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's a solemn assembly, right? Solemn meaning serious, right? It's a very serious high holy day, right? Because you got to discern the Lord's body as well. Are you worthy enough to eat at the Passover? Right? We're not doing concerts at the Passover, right? We're not popping champagne bottles. It's a serious high holy day where you're examining, you're praying that the Most High allows you to eat this and you're not destroyed because you ate of it unworthily, right? Now, you could be joyful that you're keeping a high holy day, of course, but discern how you're moving on this day that is the Passover. What you got, King?
And I want to get this in Exodus, the 12th chapter. Yeah, you got to think about it, like the brother was saying, man. This is the night the Lord was crucified, right? This is the night that the Lord was betrayed. He was in agony, praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? This is the night that his own men delivered him up, man. So-called Judas Iscariot, he was scourged. So this is something that we have to meditate on and think about, right? This Exodus chapter 12 and 42. It is a night to be much observed to Yahweh for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. That is that night of the Lord to be observed of all the children of Israel and their generations. So this is a night to be much observed, man. Adding to that solemnity that goes with it, man. Right? Again, you had 10 plagues, 9 plagues first, then the 10th plague came. So this was a big deal. The Lord told everybody the firstborn is going to die. Put that blood on your doorpost. They didn't know what that was about, man. What was going to happen afterwards. Until that they heard cries all throughout Egypt when you read Wisdom of Solomon. And there wasn't enough people to bury the dead. And we had to get out, and it was war, man. We had to march out, and you had the heathen chasing us. And we ran into the Red Sea, man. And we was crying out for distress. All hell was breaking loose. All hell was breaking loose that night, man. It wasn't just we sat down like Amalek and you ate the cedar meal. Eat your cedar meal. No, all hell broke loose that night, man. All hell broke loose on the Lord. Yahushua, man. Since he was praying, there was great drops of blood. Let me get that real quick. When he was praying in the garden, man. Right? This is
I got that Wisdom of Solomon too, if you wanted it.
Con, you got it, King.
Con, this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, and verse number 6. Right, and it says, "Of that night were our fathers certified afore, that assuredly knowing unto what oaths they had given credence, they might afterwards be of good cheer. So of thy people was accepted both the salvation of the righteous and the destruction of the enemies. For wherewith thou didst punish our adversaries, by the same thou didst glorify us whom thou hast called." Right? So how the Lord was destroying the Egyptians, the Israelites' fame and the name of the Most High was being magnified throughout all the earth. Right? You can read about how we were going into these other nations and they were in fear because what Yahweh Shem Yahushua did to Egypt. Right? Verse number 8. Or verse number 9. "For the righteous children of good men did sacrifice secretly, and with one consent made a holy law that the saints should be alike partakers of the same good and evil. The fathers now singing out the songs of praise. But on the other side, there sounded an ill-according cry of the enemies, and the lamentable noise was carried abroad for children that were bewailed." Right? So it was so loud, and that was a far distance.
Right.
To get to Goshen. It wasn't like a skip. Right? It took time, and you can hear the cries going on from the Egyptians for the death of the firstborn. But you got it, King.
Yeah, that's a heavy scene, right? That's a heavy scene. This is Luke 22 and 44. "And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground." And most scholars will call that hematohydrosis, when you're in a high level of stress to the point where your heart is pounding and you're sweating blood. right? That's an actual clinical illness, man. And they'll write you up a prescription. They say, come back in 7 days. How's your stress level? They'll take your blood pressure. Hey, that's a big deal right there, man. Right? So it was a time of joy, right? We had the Song of Moses. They came out. They celebrated. Josiah had a major feast day of joy. But you want to have a just balance and really be in that spirit of solemnity and understanding the body of our Lord Yahushua. All right, but you got it, King.
Con. Yeah, to let me back on that, like the brother said, it's definitely a time to observe and be joyful that the Most High put it in our spirits to be able to, be able to partake of this high holy day. But don't be over righteous and destroy yourself when you're sitting there. You're scared to move. You're scared to drink the wine and the unleavened bread, right? Get into this thing. Read Exodus 1 through 12, right? That's what we do. We read Exodus 1 through 12, right? We have a lesson, right? We make sure that everybody understands what's going on in the Passover. And if you have little children who aren't able to understand or grasp the severity and the magnitude of what's going on, right? They got this movie. It's called Prince of Egypt, right? Prince of Egypt. We all saw it when we were younger, right? We all, most of us did. And it shows you how crazy it was during that time, right? How everybody was nervous. They didn't know what to do. Everybody was shook, right? So you got to get into this thing. You got to make sure that you're not keeping it like an Edomite, right? Get into the Passover, right? Let's go to Psalms, right? Chapter 50. And we can start at verse number, let's start at 3. Yeah, let's start at 3. Right, Psalms 50 and 3. It says, our God shall come down and shall not keep silence. A fire shall devour before him, and it shall be a tumultuous round about him. Right? So this isn't going specifically into the Passover, but it is going into the Passover. It is the Passover. Right? So this is the Most High judging the wicked. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God hath shined. Our God shall come and shall not keep silence. A fire shall devour before him, and it shall be very tumultuous round about him. He shall come, he shall call to the heavens from above and to the earth, that he may judge his people. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Right? And so this is a remembrance of the Lord's sacrifice. Right? How the Lord is coming back and it's going to be the sacrifice of the Lord. Well, all the nations and the 2/3 of our people are going to be burnt and destroyed. It's the same thing that happened before. And that's a joyful noise that's going to be going on in the heavens. Right? Moses didn't write that song for the Lord for nothing. Right? That the Lord is a man of war.
Right.
Only a man of war would leap down off of his throne and slice up all your enemies and then go back up there and then lead you into the wilderness. Right? In 40 years, nobody's shoe latch broke. Nobody's tent was destroyed. It shows you how beautiful that covenant he was, or that the Lord made with us by that sacrifice. Right? But you got it, King.
No, that's right. That's right. It's an excellent point, man. And the Passover is a sacrifice, man. Right? It is a sacrifice through the Spirit. So we can go on to the next question. All right. From Kapash. Can you explain the relevance of Exodus 23 and 19? Right? Exodus 23 and 19. All right, let's get this through the Spirit. Right, this Exodus 23 and 19. Okay, well, we want to get into the Passover, but since we hopped on it, right, we deal with it. The first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into thy house, to the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk. Right, meaning you can't take the mother and the child. Right, it's a way of saying that, like the Lord said in Exodus, you can't take the dam and the young. Right, So you can't take the mother and the baby while the baby's nursing on his mother, right? That's the law. That's what it doesn't mean. Amalek breaks it down so you can't have cheese on your cheeseburger because the beef, the beef is from the cow and the milk. You can't mix milk and beef, right? That's how the Amalekites break it down, right? But that's not what it's going into, right? It's going into taking a mother and taking a child at the same time. It's supposed to take the child, man. Let it grow. A lot of people eat baby, what they call that, veal, but they eat like baby cow, man. You're supposed to let that thing grow up. But that's really what it's going into. And what you have something on this?
All
right, again, we're gonna try to prioritize these questions, most high willing. Right? Let's see, through the spirit and power of Yahweh. I mean, these are some good questions. So, Lord willing, we can get back into this. Okay, Shebrew Sam. I've come across a lot of back and forth. Are we able to have vinegar during Passover? I've heard yes, but only distilled, and I've heard flat out no vinegar of any kind. So you can have vinegar during the Passover, but it can't be used for leaven, to cause bread to rise, or to cause your pastries or whatever you have to rise. Right? It can't be used as a leavening agent. Right? You got it, King.
Come on. Let's go to Matthew chapter 26. We can start at verse. I'm trying to think which one I want to start at. We'll come back to me, King, so okay, I can find this.
And really, what vinegar is a byproduct of wine. It's made from grapes. They gave Yahweh Shai vinegar during the time of him being on the cross, right, through the Spirit, right? I believe that's in John the 19th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. Right? This is John. Let's see if this is what I want. Right? Let's see. John 19 and 29. Now there was set a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled a sponge with vinegar and put it on hyssop and put it to his mouth. When Yahweh therefore had received the vinegar, he said, "It is finished." He bowed his head and gave up the ghost. You see that? So it says Yahweh therefore had received the vinegar. Now Yahweh was without spot and without blemish. So if it was a sin to receive the vinegar, right, during a feast week, then he wouldn't have received it. Right? Now you go into this word vinegar, right, in the Greek, it's oxos, and it says vinegar, the mixture of sour wine or vinegar and water, which the Roman soldiers were accustomed to drink. And this was really like a something that they drank because it was cheap. They couldn't afford the hard wine, the tough wine, right, the good wine. So they gave this to our Lord Yahweh Shai. He received it. So that the root word right there is vine, right? It's made from the grapes. So if you could have wine during the Passover and it comes from the grapes, vinegar is nothing different. But vinegar is used at times to cause bread to rise. When you mix it with certain chemicals and compounds. So you want to be mindful of that as well. I just want to let's pull this up. Hold on, I'm going to type this in. Right? Slakia. Just so we can look this up. Okay, so let's pull this up. Is vinegar, so all I looked up was a vinegar leavening agent, right? Vinegar, Slakia, not leather. Vinegar leavening agent, right? Now, in baking, white vinegar acts as a leavening agent when used with baking soda. as the acid in the vinegar reacts with the alkaline baking soda, which releases CO2 that helps baked goods rise. So it's considered a leavening agent if you use it with other compounds, right? And other things, right? So you want to be mindful of that as well. You want to be mindful of that. Just like eggs, people use eggs to cause that stuff to happen, right? Doesn't mean eggs are particularly are unlawful during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, but they can be used in like fashion. So vinegar, eggs, certain things that necessarily aren't leavened within itself, but used to cause things to rise when mixed with other products. That's what you want to avoid, right? Is making that leaven, right? You want to avoid making that leaven. All right, so let's move on. Okay, Shebrew Sam. My other question is: are we clearing out everything we consume as health, at as well as health and hygiene products that we have leavening? Yeah, you wanna get rid of all leaven, right? All leaven, right? All leaven. If you got some toothpaste and they got yeast in it, you want to get rid of all leavening things that you consume, right? All leavening things that are consumable, right? You want to get rid of them. All right, so let's move on. All right, let's move on through the spirit and the power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. Magdala. So it's okay to wash dishes on Sabbaths during the feast. Right. You can. If it's a feast week and it's pertaining to cooking and preparing that food, because again, you're gonna have to get food ready for the seventh day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? And the Passover just so happens to fall this week on a Shabbat, right? But we still have to get food and get things ready for the Sabbath, right? So yes, you can cook on during the feast week. If the feast, if the feast week like this week coming up, April 11th on down, it's 7 days. It's going to overlap the Sabbath, but you don't disannul the feast day because it's the Sabbath. You keep that feast day regardless, right? You keep that feast day regardless. So yes, the ordinance of that feast day, if they fall on the Sabbath, you keep those ordinances of the feast days, right? That fall on the Sabbath, right? Answering that question. All right, let's move on. Meshach, Abednego, and Shadrach. Thus the Israelites eating manna until they came to Canaan make it's like it mean they can cook after their 40 years during the Sabbath. Reference in Exodus 16:35. Is there any other verse that shows they did not cook after? I'm gonna have to read this again. Does the Israelites eating manna until they came to the land of Canaan, right? You can read that in the book of Joshua, mean they can cook after their 40 years during the Sabbath. No, you can't cook during the Sabbath, right? Right? You can't cook during the Sabbath. Even when we got to the land of Canaan, we weren't cooking during the Sabbath simply because the manna stopped falling. If I'm answering that correctly, right? Remember, the Sabbath day ordinances are ordinances that are forever, right? So if I'm answering, we're going to read the precept that you put right there, right? Exodus 16:35. Exodus 16:35. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came to the borders of the land of Canaan. So all that means is the manna stopped falling, right? And then when you go into the book of Joshua, they began to eat the parched corn and the things that came out the land, right? But simply because the manna stopped falling after the 40 years doesn't mean now on a Shabbat they began to cook on a Shabbat, right? That's not what that's going into. They kept those ordinances forever, man. Right? Let me get this real quick in Exodus 35. Right? Oh boy. Salakia. Right? Let me get this in Exodus, the 35th chapter. Get a quick precept. Right? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 35, and verse number, I'm going to read 3. I'll read 2. 6 days shall work be done, but on the seventh day there shall be to you an holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whosoever doeth work therein shall be put to death. Ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day. So there's no cooking on the Sabbath. That's what kindling a fire goes into, right? There's no work. Cooking goes into work, right? So again, on the Sabbath day, the ordinances of not doing any work go into buying, and go into not selling, it goes into not cooking. Buying, selling, and cooking all deal with labor, and it deals with work and your own pleasures and your own devices, which are strictly prohibited by the law according to the Sabbath day. So when the 41st day came in, 41st year came in, after they entered into the promised land, they still didn't cook on the Shabbat. Right? They still did not cook on the Sabbath day. All right, so let's move on. Right, all praise to Yahweh Shmi Yahushua. Right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shmi Yahushua. All right, moving on. During the so-called Old Testament, those that were Nazarites, did they not cut their hair? Because during Passover, it wasn't an ordinance to drink wine until the time of Yahushua. Yeah, I would say so, right? There's no account of the wine being an ordinance until the time of Yahushua. We read that in Exodus, the 12th chapter, right? When we went into the ordinance of it, right? Now, wine was customary, right? You know, Hebrews, really, they didn't have, the Israelites, they didn't have pop, they didn't have coffee, they wasn't drinking coffee, they wasn't getting a iced tea, you know, Arizona, some orange, you know, some tropical, Tropicana, you know, Florida's best orange juice. A lot of them, they was only drinking water or wine, you know. So on feast days, it doesn't say, right? But on feast days, they, you know, led to believe they were drinking wine, right? But it wasn't necessarily an ordinance by the law to drink wine, right? But you know, we read that, but I'll read this again, right? Exodus chapter 12 and 8. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it, right? So that's the ordinance, right? Lamb, bitter herbs, and unleavened bread. Now, when Yahushua, right, Hamashiach, our king, was on the scene, what did the Lord say? He said, "This do in remembrance of me," right? This is Luke 22 and 20. Likewise, Slaki, I'm gonna start at 17. And he took the cup and gave thanks and said, "Take this and divide it among yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of the Most High shall come." And that's heavy, man, because, you know, who loves more wine than Yahushua, right? And he took bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave unto them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me." Likewise, meaning you do the wine in remembrance of Yahushua the same way you eat the bread. That's what likewise means. Likewise, also the cup after the supper, saying, "This cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you." Right? Now, if you don't want to drink the wine, you may say, "Well, I don't see that in the law." Right? It doesn't say that in the law. Yahushua, well, look, man, right? That if you don't drink the wine on the Passover, because you may say, "Well, I don't see it in Exodus 12th chapter," your spirit ain't right, man. And you may not belong to Yahushua. Because under what spirit would you not want to drink the wine on the Passover? You would not have to, simply, you don't believe in Yahushua. You don't believe in the New Testament. You don't believe in his sacrifice. You don't believe that we have a new covenant. Well, I don't see that in the law, right? I think the Lord changed that. The Lord didn't change anything, man. Right? Yahushua is the word, man. Right? So even really on a deeper level, when you kept the Passover, you drank the wine. Because the Passover is about Yahushua, and drinking the wine is really goes into your faith in the lamb's blood. So they were drinking wine in Exodus 12 because they believed, but they weren't literally drinking wine, if you understand. Right? We eat his flesh and we drink his blood. In Exodus, the 12th chapter, they ate his flesh and they drank his blood because they believed in what the Most High said, which is their faith in Yahweh Bashmi Osha. Right? Just want to make that point.
Gone.
You got
a quick point with it. And it's they got other types of wine right? They got like honey wine, apple wine, plum wine, right? Let's get Deuteronomy 32 and 14, right? That wasn't customary of our people to be making all these different type of wines, right? Our forefathers drank the wine of the blood of the grape, right? This is Deuteronomy. You might zooming in, King?
I got you.
Right? Deuteronomy 32 and 14 says, butter of kine and milk of sheep with fat of lambs and rams of bread of Bashan and goats with the fat of kidneys and wheat, and thou didst drink the pure blood of the grape. Right? So during the Passover, right, even if you are on the Nazarite vow, you have to break that vow. You have to drink of the blood of the grape, right? No honey wine, no plum wine, because you want to remain a Nazarite, right? Now you can start your vow up after that time, right? But you have to keep the Passover in the ordinance as the Lord said to do it, right? That's 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 25, right? He says, after this same manner, lay me back on the precept the brother just read. After the same manner also, he took the cup when he had supped, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me. Right? And like a brother said in the chat, if you don't want to drink the wine, your mind is bad. Right? There's something wrong with you. You don't really reverence the Lord if you don't want to keep the Passover the way he commanded you to. Right? You got leaven still inside of you. So every brother who is on the Nazarite vow, you have to break the vow to keep the Passover the proper way.
And somebody said on the comment board, we don't drink blood. The blood goes on the altar. Okay, well, the blood that we drink is the sacrifice of Yahweh Shai, right? I wasn't saying we have to literally drink blood, right? Let me get that real quick before Jake start drinking blood. Right, for King Saul, like we did on the Monday Night Fire, he made all the people they flew. It says they flew upon the spoils, man, and did eat with the blood. It's wickedness, man. Right? Let's get this. This is John chapter 6 and 56. He that eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood dwelleth in me, and I in him. So it's not literal, right? We're not literally eating the flesh of the Lord. That would be a sin, murder, right? Wickedness. And we're not literally drinking his blood. It goes into you believing in Yahweh Bashmel Shai, his works, his sacrifice, right? The blood of the New Testament, his body. All of those things are spiritual. This is a spiritual saying right here, right? It's not meant to be taken literal. Now, a lot of people got offended at this, man. Right? Let me actually jump down to verse 60. Many, therefore, of his disciples, when they had heard this, said, this is a hard saying. Who can hear it? And certain people can't hear that, man. That's why you have Old Testament Israelites, because they can't hear the blood of the Lord. Right? You got people that say, like in the time of the Roman Empire, they said that the Israelites or the early Christians were cannibals, man. Right? They eat people and they drink blood. It's hard to people. I don't get it. I'm still trying to get this. I don't know why they're saying eat blood. I'm going to go on a fast. So these people couldn't get it back here. When Yahweh Shai knew in himself that his disciples murmured at it, he said unto them, doth this offend you? And Yahweh Shai, he knew it offended them. If Yahweh Shai didn't want them to be offended, he would have said it plain to them. But this is him. He's trimming the fat off. Right? Certain things about Yahweh Shai, he would trim off men that he didn't want around him. Huh? So when he asked, if this offend you, he knew they got offended. Huh? And Yahweh Shai knew their thoughts. He could have said, you know what, Salakia, this is what I really mean. But he didn't want to do that, man. He didn't want to make it plain to these guys. So he said that this offend you. What? And if ye shall see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before. I'm going to jump down to verse. Actually, I'll read on. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. But there are some of you that believe not. You see that? For Yahweh Shai knew from the beginning who they were that believed not and who should betray him. And that's heavy because there are certain things that come out the scriptures that certain brothers don't believe in. right? And the Lord knew that from the beginning, right? When you say, look, brother, the Lord, it's unlawful for you to put away your wife unless you committed fornication, right? Certain brothers don't hear that, man. They don't believe that. Yahushua, there are certain stumbling blocks in the scriptures. And there are people that are close to Yahushua, they're close to the word, and there are people that are far off from the word, right? There are certain things in this word to intentionally cause man to stumble. And that's Yahushua's purpose. One of his purposes was to be set up for the fall and rising of many in Israel. He's a stumbling stone and a rock of offense, right, to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Tell you in 1 Peter, the second chapter, that he was created to for men to fall, man. It says, even those that were appointed to be disobedient, greatly paraphrasing. John 6:65, and he said, therefore said I unto you, that no man can come unto me except they were given unto him of my Father. So you can't believe in Yahushua unless the Heavenly Father hand selects you. And Most High willing, we were all selected by the Father. That's the reason we believe in Yahushua. And that's why we're going to drink the blood on the Passover, man. Like Amos said, we're not going to do the honey wine, rice wine. We're not going to have fried chicken, greens, cornbread, sweet potatoes, and okra, and red Kool-Aid and sweet potato pie for the Passover. We're going to keep it Most High willing according to the ordinances thereof. But you got it, King.
God, I was going to pull out that 1 Peter, right? But let's go to 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse number 4, right? And those who are the Lord's, they keep the Passover to the best of their ability to a T, right? Yeah, we're rehearsing the righteous acts. Yeah, you may slip up, right, because you weren't being as circumspect, but that's where the Lord's mercy comes in, right? And if you do fall short, you get back up and you make sure that you get back to how you were supposed to keep it, right? 1 Peter 2 and 4. To whom concerning as unto living stones, disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of Yahweh and precious, right? So the Lord was tattered and beaten by some of our forefathers, right? The ones who don't belong into him, right? They looked at him as nothing, right? They looked at him as if he was a man who just was blaspheming the words. But those who are of his fold, they knew he was precious. They knew that his blood meant more than the blood of bullocks and lambs and things of that nature, right? Yea, also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, right? So we're that priesthood that's being set up to offer those spiritual sacrifices. Right. The Lord requires obedience over sacrifice. And these are the spiritual sacrifice. You're doing the work, you're teaching your family, you're showing your household how to be a Israelite, right? Showing your wife how to be a modest woman, a shamefaced woman, showing your children how to grow up to be young men, young warriors of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Those are the spiritual sacrifices, right? Verse number 6, wherefore also it is contained in the scriptures, behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Unto you, therefore, which believe, he is precious, right? So to us who believe in the Lord, he's precious. Right. We understand what the Passover means because the Lord came down to sup with us, and we're able to understand the spiritual aspect of the Passover. We're able to understand what the lamb represents, the bitter herbs, right? And don't neglect the bitter herbs. Do not neglect the bitter herbs, right? Make sure you get those bitter herbs and you make sure that they're bitter when you eat them, right? We understand all the ordinance of the Passover and why we keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread 7 days, right? And it says, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the cornerstone, and a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient whereunto also they were appointed. Right? So the people who are disobedient to the commandments of the Lord, right, are disobedient because they don't truly believe in Yahweh, like the brother was saying. They don't truly understand the majesty of what he was when he came and offered himself. Right? They look at his sacrifice as a sacrifice that they did in the ancient world. Right? So that's why these people, they fumble and they stumble and they can't do things right. And eventually they end up denouncing the Lord and start calling him JC and saying he don't mean nothing because you don't hold to reverence the Lord's Passover, which is Yahweh. Right, but you got it, King.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Right? Through the Spirit. So, most I willing, that answered your question. Right? Most I willing. All right, moving on. Passover questions, right? Are any Passover questions? KW from Matthew 27:46. And about the ninth hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, that is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why did he ask this? Well, I got a precept on why Yahushua said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? First, let's go to Acts, the third chapter. Right, this Acts chapter 3 and verse number 18. But those things which the Most High before had showed by the mouth of all his prophets, that Hamashiach should suffer, he hath so fulfilled. So there are things written in the law, written in the Psalms, written in the prophets that speak about what Yahweh would experience, what he would go through, and his resurrection, his betrayal. Now, one of the things that was prophesied in Psalms 22 is that Yahweh would say those things, man. Right? This is Psalms chapter 22 and 1. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? And this was written. This had to be fulfilled because Psalms 22 is speaking about Yahweh and the crucifixion, right? So him uttering these words is him fulfilling what the Heavenly Father told him to do. See, Yahweh wasn't just obedient when things went well for him, when he was healing the people and his fame spread abroad, and he was well known. Yahweh was obedient till death, man. Obedient while he was suffering, right? He had to be mindful. He had to say that, man. So you got to think about the tightrope that Yahweh was on. Every word that the Father gave him, he had to utter it. He couldn't slip up. Every action, he had to live life perfect to a T. So it was written for him to fulfill this. Remember, he told John the Baptist, suffer it. So when John the Baptist saw him and John the Baptist say, I must be baptized of you. Why are you coming for me to baptize you? Remember, Yahushua told him, suffer it so to be now that we may fulfill all righteousness. So it was always on Yahushua's mind to fulfill the things that the Heavenly Father gave him. So even on his death, it was in his mind. So you know what? I have to fulfill Psalms 22 of what the Most High gave me. Now I'm going to jump to 16 just to show that this is going into the crucifixion. Psalms 22 and 16, for dogs have compassed me. The assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. And we know that that's going into the crucifixion, right? Yahushua being on the cross. David didn't have his hands and his feet pierced. There's no scripture. From First Samuel to First Kings, there's no account. So this is going into Yahushua being crucified. So on one level, he was fulfilling the things that were written of him. On another level, he was going through pain. He was going through suffering. He was going through what men go through when they're in the flesh. Right? But you got it, King.
Come. Let's go to Matthew chapter 26, and we start at verse 36. Like the brother said, when you're going through certain things, you might utter things that you would never dare utter when you're not in those situations. Right? Look at Peter. You think that Peter would have ever denied the Lord? Right? But when you go through certain situations, the flesh may cause you and trouble you and tempt you, and you may say some things that you ought not say. Right? So this is Matthew chapter 26 and 36. Then cometh Yahweh with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and said unto the disciples, sit ye here while I go and pray yonder. He took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Right? Why was the Lord sorrowful and very heavy? He knew it was the time that he should be betrayed. He knew it was the time that he was going to be offered for the sins of Israel. Right? Imagine you know all these things about to happen. Right? You might have a damn panic attack. You'll start sweating blood.
Right.
Right? You might have a damn heart attack. Right? It's times people fall from a building and they have a heart attack before they hit the ground. Like they die. Imagine knowing that you're about to be put to death and you're about to be scourged, you're about to be beaten, right? And the Most High is putting these words in your mouth because you remember the precepts, right? The Lord was perfect. He remembered all these things because he sat in the synagogues and taught the doctors and the elders. So he knew all these things that had to be fulfilled. Then saith he unto them, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here and watch with me. And then he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, oh, my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Right? So the Lord, he was so sorrowful. He even said, Lord, if this, man, please just take this away from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. So even in his spirit, he understood that it's not how I feel, right? I want to do all these things at work. I want to take a whole year off of work and still get paid, but that's above my, I can't call those shots, right? So it's not up to me. It's up to the Father, right? He cometh unto the disciples and find them asleep and saith unto Peter, what, could ye not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Right? This is the Lord telling you that the flesh is weak. Right? He's even admitted that the flesh is weak, that he had a weak moment. Right? But the Most High put in his spirit that his will should be done. Right? So it wasn't him denying the Lord. I've seen a few camps say the Lord denied the Lord on the cross. That's why he said it wicked, right? No, all things that were written to him had to be fulfilled, even the words that were small, even the actions that were small in our sight, but they had to be magnified so that the Lord's name could be magnified. But you got it, King.
Yeah, you have, when you read the prophets, man. Read about Jeremiah. Jeremiah wished for his death, man. Right? He said, let me get this. I don't want to paraphrase it. Right? And he was really kind of asking the Most High, why would you set me up like this? What did you do? What is this about? This is Jeremiah 20:7. Oh Lord, thou hast deceived me, and I was deceived. Thou art stronger than I, and hast prevailed. I am in derision daily. Everyone mocketh me. So he said, Lord, you deceived me. Imagine that, man. You being so vexed in the spirit. A brother wouldn't say that, in his worst day, man. But when you going through it, hey, Jeremiah said, Lord, you deceived me. Right? You're stronger than that, man. Right? Verse 8. For since I spake, I cried out. I cried violence and spoil, because the word of Yahweh was made a reproach unto me and a derision daily. Yeah, because Jeremiah was out there crying and prophesying, but people were mocking him. They said, we're going to kill him. Right? We're going to destroy him. Here's what Jeremiah said. Then I said, I will not make mention of him, nor speak any more in his name. But his word was in my heart as a burning fire shut up in my bones, and I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay. And this is similar to the precept we just read. Because Jeremiah said, I don't even want to mention the Most High name. I don't even want to say his name, man. I'm done with the ministry. Right? I'm done prophesying. Israel, you're wicked. You're so, hey, it's sometimes we don't want to go to, brothers don't want to be at the harbor, man. We always say we hate the harbor, man. No, you don't even want to go to the harbor. You can't even go to the harbor on the day off, man. Even if nobody wants to just go to the harbor. Right? But guess what? We got to go out there anyway, man. And it's not us that go out there. It's a spirit that the Most High turned up in us that make us get in that car, right? Put your garment on, put your fringes on, and go out there and do the work. So you can't say, well, Jeremiah, he was wicked for saying this, and he didn't want to make mention of the Lord or speak anymore in his name. When Yahushua prayed that the cup pass from him, it's a similar spirit. But here's what you can't stop. It says, but his word was in my heart as a burning fire shut up in my bones. So the Lord is going to turn that fire up in you anyway. That's why the Heavenly Father put the spirit on those angels to strengthen Yahushua. When he was praying in the garden, the angels came down and they were strengthening him, huh? Because you got to do the will of the Most High anyway, man. And really, the Most High there's no account of the Most High telling Yahushua during that prayer, get up, do the will. And sometimes no answer is the answer, man. So there's a lot of things to kind of take from that. He said, but his word was in my heart as a burning fire shut up in my bones. And I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay. Right. I mean, he couldn't stay away from doing the work. He couldn't stay in that isolated place. Yahushua couldn't stay in that garden and keep praying. And no, things have to be fulfilled. He had to go through the crucifixion. He endured that. So all of the prophets, most of the prophets, they have those weak moments, man. Jonah. I was reading Jonah last night, and you would have thought Jonah was off, man. The Lord said, Jonah, doest thou well to be angry? Jonah said, I do well to be angry even until death. So he was in a spirit. He was in a different spirit. Elijah said, Lord, kill me. Tobit said, Lord, take my life. Job said, cursed be the day where I was born. John the Baptist said, art thou him that should come, or should we look for another? All of the prophets, man, was going through it. So, that's a similar, because the spirit of Yahushua was in them. Right? I just want to make that point too. So you got to understand the role of the apostles and the prophets and what they went through, man. Yahushua been the chief apostle and prophet. But you got it, King.
That's the spirit. I had Jonah right here. Well, let's go to we can go to Jonah chapter 4, and we can start at 1. Right, just because mighty men have a weak moment doesn't mean they're not in the truth. Right, doesn't mean that they're not mighty men. It just shows that they catch a hell and they need help sometimes. They need help to get replenished in the spirit all over again. Like the brother said, nobody wants to go to the harbor. Right? I despise the harbor. I hate the brown water. I hate the ship we got to look at. I hate our parking spots. Man, I hate everything about the harbor. But it don't matter how I feel. It's the Most High putting that spirit in us to keep us going there. And I'm thankful for that. And it's how much more our forefathers who did these mighty acts, being thankful that the Lord continued to put that spirit upon them. Right? But this is Jonah chapter 4 and verse 1. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was very angry. Right? So context, Jonah went to Nineveh and prophesied the destruction of it. Right? And told, the people that it'll be destroyed in 40 days, so on and so forth, but it didn't come to pass because the people repented and proclaimed the fast. So now in context, Jonah looking like I'm a false prophet. I done stirred all this madness and people looking at me like I just made it up. Right? Not discerning that the Most High could have had that just to happen so that they would repent. Right? Once you get in that rage or you lose the spirit, you start to get rid of all sensibility and understanding and reasoning. Right? That's why when we tell brothers, when we do like the sticky marriage Q&As and, dealing with marriages, you can't be two emotional beings in the house screaming at the top of your lungs. Nothing is going to come to pass. Just going to be confusion. Right? Verse number 2. And he prayed unto the Lord and said, I pray thee, O Lord, was not this my saying when I was yet in my country? Therefore I fled before unto Tarshish, for I knew that thou art gracious God and merciful, slow to anger and of great kindness, and repentest thee of the evil. Therefore now, O Lord, take, I beseech thee, my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. Then said the Lord, doest thou well to be angry? So Jonah was trying to talk his shit to the Lord, right? He was hot about this. Then it showed the Lord's mercy, right? He had a gourd grow over him, right, to protect him from the heat, right? And let's go to the last verse, right? It says, and should not I spare Nineveh, the great city, wherein are much there six score thousand persons that cannot discern between their right hand and their left hand, and also much cattle. So the Lord showed mercy unto Jonah as he would show unto Nineveh, right? Because Israel, man, you know, sheep can't discern anything. That's why you need a shepherd, right? You let sheep go in the pasture, man, you have 5 fall off a cliff. You have 4 get stuck in the ditch, right? 1 might just lay down and won't get up. That's why they need shepherds to guide them through their pasture so they can eat, right? That's how much more, you know, the Lord has to be with us in our times of weakness, man. Because we be like lost sheep, start thinking crazy thoughts, might start saying crazy things, right? Because our flesh is so weak at that moment, right? It doesn't take away from them being mighty men of the Lord, right? But you got it, King.
No, that's right. That's right. So that's why, you know, like brother said, that's why he Yahushua said that, man. Right? Eli, Eli, right? My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Right? All praise to the Most High. Okay, sister Abby. Who brought the children of Israel out of Egypt? The Lord or Jesus? Right? Well, the Most High used his son Yahushua, right, to bring us out of Egypt. Right? That one thing about the Most High, his son, right? Let me get one quick precept in John 10 and 30. Right? It reads, I and my Father are one. Doesn't mean they're the same person. We're not promoting or advocating the Trinity. You know, they're of one heart. They agree and the same, right? So the will of the Father is the will of Yahushua. So that's why we say Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, right? Yahweh in the name of Yahushua. So the Heavenly Father used his son to deliver us out of Egypt, right? We read in or Amos, you quoted it, but I'm gonna get it in Wisdom of Solomon, the 18th chapter, right? This Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18 and verse number 14. For while all things were in quiet silence, this is the night of the Passover, and that night was in the midst of her swift course, thine almighty word leaped down from heaven out of thy royal throne as a fierce man of war into the midst of a land of destruction. So Yahushua was there during the days of the wilderness. I mean, it's like the days of Egypt. He leaped down from heaven. He's the word of the Most High. And he came into a land that was destroyed by plagues, right? Verse 16, and brought thine, meaning the Most High's. Yahushua brought the Most High's unfeigned commandment as a sharp sword, and standing up, filled all things with death. And it touched the heaven, but it stood upon the earth. So Yahushua was that destroyer, and he filled all things with death. Who gave him the okay? Who gave him the green light? Right? The Most High gave him the green light to do that. Because the Most High don't get off his throne. He don't leap off his throne. Yahushua leaped off his throne. You know, so the Lord put the spirit on Yahushua to deliver us out of Egypt. And I got one more real quick in 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter. Right? This 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse number 1. I'm going to read 1 through 4. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud and all passed through the sea. So all of the Israelites went through the Red Sea and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, meaning they were consecrated to the Most High through Moses. They accepted and understood and believed the fact that the Most High was using Moses to deliver us when we went through the Red Sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Hamashiach. So Yahushua was with them in the wilderness as, on one level, the spiritual meat and the spiritual drink, just like for Passover, spiritual meat and the spiritual drink, and he followed them. When you the Lord said the Lord removed and went behind them, right? So you had the Lord with our fathers in the wilderness. You got it, King.
Come, let's go to Exodus chapter 23. And we can start at verse number, we can start at 20. Right? Exodus 23 and 20. Right? So, like the brother said, the Most High Yahweh used Yahweh Shai to exact vengeance and deliver the children of Israel through the Red Sea in the wilderness. He had a covering over us, right? A light at night, right? All these things were done by the ordinances of the Lord by his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. Right? It says, Exodus 23 and 20, behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Right? And this is going back into what the brother just read in 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Right? So whose name, or who has the name of the Most High within him? Right? The captain of the Lord's host, which is Yahweh Shai. Right? Verse number 22. But if thou indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then will I be an enemy unto your enemies and an adversary unto thine adversaries. And that goes back into Wisdom of Solomon, the 18th chapter. Because all of Israel hearkened unto Moses, Aaron, and the elders of Israel, and they painted the doorposts with the blood of the Lamb, right? They shut up their doors, right? They kept the feast, and the Lord became an enemy unto our enemies, right? Caused great destruction, great lamenting, and gave us a wonderful high holy day just off of that, right? So that's the answer right there through the Spirit.
That's right. Good precept. All praise to the Most High. Right. So we're moving on through the spirit and power of the Most High. Right. Meshach, Abednego, Prince of Egypt is a Sabbath day classic for my kids. It's really stepping stone for most of my lessons. Yeah. Like the brother. Hey, get into the Prince of Egypt, man. Right. Hey, your kids and my children, they know most of that by heart, man. They'll have that thing on repeat. Right. We'll put it on at the school, man. And the children be on that at the school.
Shoot, I get into it.
Yeah, hey man, you got that. They got some fire. They got some song. They got some fire songs on the Prince of Egypt, man. They got some. It's Jake, right? It's not like how they did to Joe. I don't like how they did to Joseph, and they got them all looking they're all Edomites. Joseph in the coat of many colors. You know, they look like they got the Moses as a dark skinned man. You know, they got the Egyptians as dark skinned people. It's a little bit more, authentic. A little bit more authentic. All right, so let's move on. Passover questions. Right? Passover questions through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shemiah Shai. Okay, from Joshua Flores Issachar Power. Watchman for Israel what does 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verses 27 through 29 mean? When Paul advises not to drink the wine if you are unworthy. And that's why some of them were getting sick. All right, well, let's deal with it. I believe you touched on some of this, I think, King. You touched on some of it. Right? 1 Corinthians 11 and verse number, I believe the brother wants 27 through 29. It reads, wherefore whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. Yeah, we went into this because this goes into the brother that doesn't know what the Passover is about, not the brother that sins, right? We all sin. We all go off, right? And technically, we're all unworthy because we don't deserve to be in this truth. This truth was a gift. But in its context, this is a man that doesn't discern the Lord's body. This is the type of brother that goes into the Passover. He doesn't really believe in the truth, but he want to try lamb for the first time. You know, his cousin brought him to this lamb dinner. You know, he called it the Passover. He want to try lamb for the first time, and he heard about some kosher wine. He normally drink Hennessy, but he want to try this kosher wine. He heard that it go down smooth, and he just trying to get his wet his whistle. That's the brother that's eating it unworthily, right? The brother that don't want to eat the bitter herbs, you kind of shove it, hide the damn bitter herbs under his table, man. Act like he ate it, don't want to eat it. That's eating of the Passover unworthily, man. You're going there because sisters are going to be there, and you use the Passover as an excuse to see women. You have been around women because you've been by yourself somewhere in Kansas City. This is your first Passover, and there's women there, and use it as a stepping stool to try to get with a sister. That's eating of it unworthily. You're going to be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat that bread and drink that cup. So you have to put yourself to the test and ask yourself, are you really going into the Passover with the right intentions and with the right spirit and with the appropriate level of understanding? Right? That's what it means. Examine yourself. See if you're moving in the spirit of Yahweh Shai. Don't just go into the Passover to eat lamb, man. You want to get some steak sauce and you broke the bone and your lamb fell out your plate and it landed on the floor. You picked it up and you put hot sauce on it and you forgot the unleavened bread and the sun is coming up and you don't know what to do with the lamb. And so you take it and you put it in the trash bag, the whole lamb, man. You forgot to cook the whole lamb and it wasn't done. So you put it in the trash bag and threw it out in the damn curb. Being wicked. But you got it, King.
God. Yeah, that's wicked as I don't know what, man. Right? And I saw just throw the lamb out there or give it to your dog.
Yeah,
right?
That's
let your dog eat of the damn Passover.
Oh,
right?
Man.
And also eating it unworthily is being lukewarm, right? Being lukewarm. Right? You don't want to, that's why it says let a man examine himself. Right? And it's not just men, right? It's women as well. Right? Because y'all eat of the Passover. Right? Because what did the Lord say if you lukewarm? What's he going to do to you? He's going to spew you out of it or spew you out of his mouth. Right? It's no in between. Well, one day I'm an Israelite, one day I'm a YN. Right? Now they got this thing, they call them ONs.
Wow.
Right? So they just categorizing you as a YN or an ON. It's no being a YN or an ON Monday through Thursday, and then Friday through Sunday, you an Israelite. Right? This Revelation chapter 3 and 14. And it said the angel of the church of the Laodiceans, write these things, saith the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of the Lord. I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I work that thou wert cold or hot. Right? So the Lord knows your works. You can be hot for 1 second, then you can be cold. Right? Or you're not, you're just nowhere, you're just bland. Right? You're just there with your thumb in your mouth. Like, I just have to be here. Right? My mom comes here every Saturday, so I gotta be here. Right? Or the man that you're interested in, he's trying to do it, so you're just doing it because you think you got a chance of being with him. Right? It says, then because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. Right? So the Lord will spew you out of his mouth because you're not fervent, right? Or you not cold, right? You just right in between, right? You just, here we go, right? What's this now? What's this high holy day, right? Another day where I can't buy, right? Another day where I got to do this, right? Listen to these brothers talk for 2 hours. I don't even know what they be saying, right? The Lord's going to spew you out, and that's eating of the Passover unworthily, right? You don't want to be around people who don't truly want to serve the Lord, right? Look how it is dealing with people at work. Yeah, it's all right to be cordial, laugh, joke with people at work. It's no sin in that, right? Unless you're talking too much and bringing forth confusion and wickedness out of your mouth. But it's okay to be cordial at work. But look at the spirit when you get around like-minded people. How the Most High put it in your spirit to light up, to be fervent, right? You can't be around lukewarm people and be fervent and the spirit hop on you and you feel good. So you don't want to be around lukewarm people during the Passover. Also, somebody put in the chat, can I eat the Passover dinner with family members who are not in the truth? Right? There go your answer right there. Absolutely not, because you're going to be having them eat to their damnation, right? And they're going to be partakers in the Lord's death, right? Saying, let his blood be upon me and my children, like they said in the ancient world, right? So don't allow those who don't know what the Passover represents, or those who are walking in the truth and knowledge of being an Israelite, to partake in the Passover. What you got to kick?
Yeah, that would be off. This is a holy day, right? This isn't like you took your worldly family out to Golden Corral and y'all got the dinner rolls, man. You know, on somebody's graduation. This is the chief holy day. This is the chief holy day. I want to get a quick precept. Your auntie Tamika, your cousin Rail, and Mans, and little Pookie, and Tony, and little Jock. Hey, they can't eat the Passover, man. Right? This is Ecclesiasticus 9:16. And don't say, well, they just want to learn. Hey, look, they don't. This is the time for the Passover. This isn't the time for somebody who just put the blunt down, or who just celebrated St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day, New Year's, and Christmas to partake of the Lord's body. John 9:16. And let just men eat and drink with thee, and let thy glorying be in the fear of the Lord. Right. So you're supposed to let just men eat and drink with you. Yahushua didn't eat the Passover with everybody, man. He didn't eat the Passover with his mother. He said, with desire, have I desired to eat this Passover with you? He ate the Passover with the 12. He didn't invite Lazarus. And he loved Lazarus, man. He didn't invite Mary. He loved Mary and Martha and the other Mary. His own brothers wasn't at the Passover. He had two brothers that weren't invited, man. Simon and Joseph. His own biological brothers, two of them. They didn't come. They wasn't invited. So the Passover is an intimate, solemn Passover meal. So again, just to let me back on that, don't bring your uncle, just came out the mosque and he come by, he put his finger in the lamb. What you cooking up there, man? What you got going on in here, nephew? Oh man, you don't know what you're doing in that grill, nephew. Let me show you what's going on, man. And he put his damn sandals on. He started putting Tabasco sauce all on the lamb, huh? Flipping it over, smacking the lamb, getting drunk. And you too shy to say something. Oh, uncle, my uncle. Remember this the Passover, Unc? Right? Yeah, nigga. Yeah. Give me a beer. And he damn licking his fingers. Let just men eat and drink with thee, man. Keep the path, even if you got to keep it by yourself. I know certain brothers, their family are so off, they're so in the world, they may have to keep it by themselves. They may get them a grill, from Walmart, from somewhere cheap, man. Set that grill up, get some charcoal, and you might get some lamb. You might have to get a lamb chop. Some brothers they just had to get the lollipop lamb. Hey, some brothers get the the lamb steak joint and just put it on the grill. And, hey, look, man, they get the unleavened bread and they keep that Passover meal between them and Yahweh Yahushua. So never feel like you have to have it with people if those people are off. If you're by yourself, then you got to do what you got to do. Just want to make that point.
One more point as well. If you are keeping it maybe with another household who's in the truth, make sure that this isn't this man's first time cooking on the grill.
Yeah.
Right? You don't burn up all the lamb. We got YouTube University. You can learn any and everything on YouTube. Right? Look how they cook on the grill before you try to burn up all the lamb. Now the sun go down, you can't buy and sell. And Passover is destroyed because you don't know what you're doing. Right? And as well, to the sisters who may be keeping it by themselves, right? Get on that YouTube and see how to cook on the grill, right? See when it's the right time to put it on, right? You don't want to put it on when the fire is blazing, right? Because it'll char up on the outside and it'll be raw on the inside. So take the time to do, diligent research on how to cook on the grill, how to prepare the lamb. Right, you don't put a whole bunch of seasoning on it. right? I didn't see anybody ask how to prepare the lamb, but you don't put seasoning on it, right? You don't add Lowry's on the lamb for Passover, right? Some jerk seasoning or something, right? Do the ordinances as the Lord commanded you to do, right? Lamb got his own seasoning to it anyway.
Right.
It has its own distinct taste, right? So don't put anything on there, right? But you got it, King.
Yeah, and just to add to that, don't put ranch on your bitter herbs because it's too bitter, or you do blue cheese or Thousand Island or French dressing, right? Eat your bitter herbs plain. Don't don't do the most on the back. Don't alter the feast, right? Don't alter the feast. Don't water down your wine with grape juice or pour shooters inside your wine glass because you want to get a buzz. The wine didn't buzz you enough for the feast day. It's Friday night. You really need that buzz, so you get you a little go to the gas station, get you a little dollar, and don't do that, man. Don't chase your wine with liquor, right? With some E&J, you pour your wine down. We got to go over this, man, because a brother might be watching. So why do you have to go over that? I know that some people don't know. Don't break the bone of the lamb. Get the marrow, because you saw your great grandmother do it from Mississippi. She liked to get the marrow out the bone. Right? What else? Yeah, pretty much, man.
Salaki.
Oh, go ahead, King.
I was going to say, let's go over a list of bitter herbs that Israel can get as well.
You got horseradish and ginger root. You got
dandelion.
Yeah, dandelion. I believe
lemongrass.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was that the watermelon?
Watermelon radish.
Yeah, yep. You got wormwood that you could do if you want to get bitter herbs. Those are a few. You looking up some more?
Con.
Yeah, and really make sure you get that horseradish and ginger, man. Those are your chief bitter herbs. Don't do romaine lettuce, iceberg lettuce, asparagus is not bitter herbs. Collard greens, turnip greens, those are not bitter herbs. Right? Okra, right? Your grandfather, he make okra from Louisiana. Okra is not bitter herbs. What else?
I can't even read this.
Don't try to make a lamb stew when you put, lamb in there with the bitter herbs, and don't mix it together. Right? It's pretty plain. It's pretty plain. You keep the ordinances, as it is written. Right? Keep the ordinances as it is written. And get with those bitter herbs. Get with those bitter herbs, man. You're supposed to feel it in your nose. That's how you know it's bitter. When your nose kind of get hot, start flaring up, and your eyes might water. And finish all your bitter herbs. Don't just have one bitter herb or two of them. Finish. If you prepared enough, finish them.
Mint. Dill, oregano, rosemary, and tarragon. Right. So those are some good bitter herbs. You can go to Mom's Organic Market. You can go to Wegmans. Any grocery store, you'll be able to get them. Right. And like the brother said, you don't need anything to cut the bitterness. Right. The bitterness is part of the feast.
Right.
Right. You should be struggling to eat those bitter herbs. Yeah. Right. Those bitter herbs no onions. I just seen that. Right. It should hurt when you eat those bitter herbs. Your eyes should be running. Your nose should be flaring. You might have some droplets come out of there.
Right.
Right. That the bitterness is going into, the bitter bondage that we were living in Egypt.
Right.
How much more the bitter bondage that we're living in America or the UK or wherever, you were dispersed in these captivities.
Yeah, I want to get one precept on the bitter herbs, man. You have to love the bitterness, like the brother was saying. I want to stay in Revelation, the 10th chapter. Right? This is Revelation chapter 10 and verse number 10. 10 and 9, Salakia. I'll start at 8. Revelation 10 and 8. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. Right? This is what John had to do. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand. He didn't say, "Oh, whoa, bitter. I'm not eating that. I don't want that." Right? That's a little bit too much. Only want the honey. Only want the sweet part of this truth. Only want to know that Esau is going to be exterminated. Only want to read the book of Obadiah, right? And Deuteronomy 28 verses 1 through 14. And I only want to read the Psalms, and read the book of John. Only that part makes me feel good. No, man. John heard about the bitter. He said, all right. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up. He didn't eat half of it, right? He ate the whole thing. And it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And your belly is symbolic for your mind. So you learn this truth. And there are things to this truth that make you feel good. The knowledge, the fact that we're the Most High's chosen people. We know the name Yahweh. The people of the scriptures look like us. We know the name of his son, Yahweh Shai. These things are sweet, right? They lift your confidence. They encourage you. But then there's the bitter part of this truth. Knowing that we may get put to death for this truth, betrayed, you understand? Go through what our Lord went through, right? Torture, humiliation, mocking, scourging, poverty, oppression. These are the things that come a bit in this truth, and you have to accept the bitter, right? So the bitter part, is like the brother said, it goes into that bondage. It goes into, and we're in bondage, man. Bondage to these bodies, bondage to the so-called white man, right? We're in bondage on manifold levels, and our lives are made bitter, right? So I just want to bring that out too.
A little off topic as well. After the Passover, people tend to get together, and keep the feast of unleavened bread together and have a good time. You got to be mindful of the strong drinking wine that you have and make sure it doesn't have yeast in it. Right. Some strong drinks contain yeast. Right. I was looking that up today. What was the one I was looking up? A lot of brandy. A lot of brandy has yeast still in it. Right. Traces of yeast in it. Some tequilas, they have yeast in it as well. Right now, all of it because it's made of agave. But, just be mindful, how you're doing it. You don't want to just be buying anything and drinking it and defiling the feast on unleavened bread.
Okay. And we kind of did this. We didn't go into this. Maybe we did. Shalom Malakium question. Do Akim have a list of Passover ready wines throughout it? Yeah, you got the Magen David. You have the Mani Shevitz. Those are the main two that we normally deal with. Unless you could think some more, King. But I know those are the main ones we deal with for the Passover. You want to get wine that says kosher, ready for Passover, or kosher for Passover, right? Be mindful of the wine that you drink for the Passover. Don't get some MD 2020. Don't get some wayward rail wine. Get wine kosher for the Passover. Don't get half blackberry wine, half grape wine. Don't do white wine, right? No, what's that? White? Was that Chardonnay? Chardonnay's white wine. Champagne.
Pinot Grigio.
Yeah, Pinot Grigio. It's another one too. Zinfandel. Don't get those wines for the Passover. Right? Get you some red wine, right? Kosher for the Passover. You got the Concord grape, Mani Shevitz, and you have the Magen David, right? You got the Magen David. Somebody said no Taylor port. Yeah, no Taylor port. Not sure I said that. Right? You'll be out your mind, man. Right? No Taylor port for the Passover. So this is serious. You gotta be mindful of this stuff, man. This is the Lord's body we're dealing with. We kind of make light, throw some, some salt in there, but spiritually, be mindful of this, man. Get you the right wine. Get you, like Amos said, get you a lamb enough for your house. You're not just burning, 90% of the lamb. You ate 10%, right? Be mindful of these things. Make sure you get your bitter herbs, man. Inspect your bitter herbs, right? Make sure you get them and you get them fresh, right? Have enough wine. The wine isn't for you to get drunk either. You don't have to have 5 glasses of wine on the Passover. How would you make it out of Egypt with 5 glasses of wine? You'll be finished. You'll be going back to Pharaoh's army, man. Right? You'll be bugged out of your mind. So you have to be sober on the Passover too. Right? Because we have to go. We have to have our feet shod. And we handled the body of Yahweh shot. So like at one point, imagine Joseph of Arimathea was drunk. Right? He had a hangover. Nicodemus had a hangover. The woman had a hangover. And they would never have handled the body of Yahweh shot. What you got, a king?
It's a wine called Zamora. If you want to look it up, and it's a website too right here that Israel can go to. It's Zmora. You might have to share the screen too.
That kosher for Passover wine. Let me see.
The Zamora is as well. Because some people may not enjoy the sweet wine, or you know how it is. Some people, they like the bitter wine, but that one right up there to the top left, that's kosher for Passover, and that's the website I was going to say to go to, kosherwine.com. So that gives you a list of kosher wines for the Passover. So Zamora, that's $13, right? It's a Cabernet Sauvignon. Right, and if you click, go to the top and click the where it says kosher wine on the left. Oh, well, you don't even gotta do that. You see where it says all wines? Or hit back, Baba Show.
So like, they got Passover wines too.
God.
All wines are kosher for Passover?
God. It says all wines are kosher for Passover. So you can look on here and look at a list of wines that you can pick from. Right, that's folly that they had the truck driving through the Red Sea. Yeah. But yeah, this is a good website where you can get, wines, or see what wine may suit you best.
So you got that one we went into. This is Zamora. Just to show the picture of the other one, you got the Magen David. And again, don't do the blackberry. Right? We went into the precept. You want to get wine kosher for Passover. Right? And the bottle should say it. The bottle should say kosher for Passover. And the what's the other one? What's the main one, King? Again,
Manny Chevy.
Yeah, the Manny.
Yeah, and Total Wine has a real good Passover selection too.
Right, this is the Manny Shevitz kosher for Passover wine. So you got options, right? You got options, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. We showed you bitter herbs, the lamb, and no goat for Passover. No goat. Do the lamb for the Passover. We went into the bitter herbs, the wine, the lamb. So all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, right? So all praise to the Most High. Let's see if we maybe get a few more, maybe one, maybe two more. Okay, we answered this. Can we keep Passover in a house, family members who are not in the truth? with in-house family. No. Let's see if there's any other questions for the Passover through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Shad. Sister Abby, what role did Moses and Aaron play in the deliverance of the children of Israel? They played a mighty role, man. They played a heavy, mighty role. Right? Let me I get one quick precept on that. So the Lord used in tandem Moses and Aaron to deliver Israel, right? A lot of people talk about Moses, and rightfully so, but don't forget Aaron was right there with him, man. Aaron did a lot of that talking. All that talking to Pharaoh and saying what he had to say, that was Aaron doing that, right? So you got to put some respect on Aaron's name, right? This is Exodus 7:1. And the Lord said unto Moses, see, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. So a lot of the things that was going on, Aaron did it, man. Right? Aaron's the one that threw his rod down and it became a serpent. But a lot of movies, they make it as if Moses did that. Moses didn't do that. Aaron did that, man. Aaron threw his rod down and became a serpent. Aaron's the one that did a lot of that talking, right? Before Pharaoh. So you had Aaron and you had Moses. Aaron was Moses' older brother, I believe by 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and confirm that, right? 2 or 3 years, right? It reads, thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his hand, right? Now I'm going to jump down to verse 7. And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 years old. So he was 83, and Moses was 80 when they spake unto Pharaoh. So that's a heavy brotherhood right there, man. You and your brother, y'all old men, and both y'all go before Pharaoh, right? But you got it, King.
Come, let's go to Exodus chapter 4, and we can start at verse 20. Let's start at 27, right? So, like the brother said when he read in Exodus the 7th chapter, they played a mighty role. They were like gods and prophets. They were gods and prophets to the Egyptians, right? They probably trembled whenever the thought or the sign of Moses and Aaron came walking through that land, right? This is Exodus 4:27. And the Lord said to Aaron, go into the wilderness to meet Moses. And he went and met him in the mount of God and kissed him. And Moses told Aaron all the words of the Lord who sent him and all the signs which he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel, right? So when you look at the ancient world, not in today's society where, our elder men aren't held in great regard, right? When you went to speak with the elders, right, it was held in great regard. The elders could chastise you. They could smite you, right? They could do anything they wanted because they were older than you and they had more wisdom and their words were much heavier. So they went to the elders, and that's how all the word was spread throughout Israel, right? Because where did the elders congregate? In the gates, right in the front of the city. So that's how the word also got spread, by being able to speak with men of regard, such as the elders.
Can I read the next verse? It says, and Aaron spake all the words which the Lord had spoken unto Moses, and did the signs in the sight of the people. So to add to that, don't sleep on Aaron, man. He wasn't just a man, old man walking around, right? And he just was Aaron was a high priest. He was the first high priest. Aaron was a mighty man of the Lord. He had a beard that ran down the skirt of his garment. Aaron did his thing, man. Aaron and Moses. So this was a beautiful, one of the best two men combinations in the entire Bible. Right? You got Peter and John, you got Moses and Aaron, you got Jonathan, you got David, you got Barnabas and Paul, you got who else? You got a lot of talent. You said what? Elijah and Elisha. You got Nehemiah and Ezra, man. Joshua and Zerubbabel. You got a lot of two-mans. And the Lord sent the apostles out by twos, man. because the Lord speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. Right? So, King, you want to get any other questions? Or you want to do closing precepts?
I mean, if you see any other we can knock out one more question.
Okay.
And then we go to the closing precepts.
We are live during not the whole Passover. We normally do a live lesson, but we normally don't do the whole live Passover from start to finish. Right? Okay, from Sister Abby. Should we call the lamb today in captivity the Passover lamb? Because we're in captivity. Is it still called the Passover lamb? Yes. Still called the Passover lamb. Okay. Proverbs 18:10. I have a teen son who doesn't seem to have the spirit of the Most High. Do I make him keep Passover as I have in the past or not? What you say, King?
I mean, God, he's a child, right? You got to train up a child in the way he should go, right? Just because you're 13 don't mean you still not a child. As much as we all was 13 and thought otherwise. He's still a child. He's gonna have to eat. He got to be trained up in the way he should go.
All praise to the Most High. All right. We listed the herbs. We may make a post about the herbs and post it on social media with all of the bitter herbs and what tools and what to avoid, different, slideshows and stuff like that. So brothers could see that and the Aquath could see that, Most High willing. And I believe a lot of brothers put it in this chat too, through the Spirit. Okay. Does the Passover start at midnight? No, the Passover starts on the 14th day at sundown, which will be the 15th day. That would be April 11th at sundown, right? Which is a so-called Friday night at sundown. Midnight is the time the Lord killed the firstborn. Doesn't mean that you keep the Passover at midnight. Your days begin at evening time, not at midnight. And let me say this, the Passover is the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You don't have to Passover one day, and then the next day you start your 7 days of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It don't work like that, right? Your Passover is the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay.
Also, start cooking the lamb when the sun goes down.
Yep. From Melvin Blake, shalom. How do I keep Passover if my wife is not in the truth? Right?
The same way you would if she was in the truth.
I was about to say that. Right? That makes no difference, right? Just because your wife isn't in the truth doesn't mean that you eat Arby's that day with your rib because you like to eat Arby's, right? No, you eat Passover. Why you eat the Passover, right? You can say, but what if she gets mad? What if she say she don't want to smell that in the house? Hey, look, man. Hey, you eat that Passover, right? You eat that Passover.
So like the scriptures say, what shall separate us from the love of the Most High?
Right.
Nothing should, man. It don't matter if your wife will be mad. It don't matter if she's not going to understand, right? This is a commandment of the Most High, right? And you got to keep it regardless, right? And Lord willing, she'll be sanctified through you, right?
How many days do you eat lamb? You eat lamb or the Passover. Now you can eat lamb any other day, but you don't want to. You want to see your sincerity, right? You don't want to, I can't eat lamb like this on Passover night, so I'm gonna do a big day 2. I missed out on day 1. Day 2, I'm going crazy on the lamb, right? Like, no, you can eat lamb any day, but you want to you're supposed to eat it on that first day, right? And you want to really segregate that, man. It's a holy event on that day. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't eat it day 2, but me personally, I probably won't want to eat lamb the day right after Passover. That's me, right? But that every brother, do what they want to do. That's righteous. Is it over righteous to eat or to get Salaki, the most bitter herb or no?
La'ah.
Right.
You want the herbs to be bitter, right? You want the
Right.
herbs to be bitter. Don't excuse my language, half-ass Passover, right? Get all the way into it.
That's right. Some good questions. Moving on. What about wearing Nikes, which are the Greek goddess to Passover? Well, you don't want to be over righteous much. If you're wearing Nikes and you're thinking about the Greek goddess, maybe you shouldn't be wearing Nikes, right? Maybe those aren't the shoes for you. Oh, I got Greek goddess on. Hey, look, the Lord said one man esteemeth one day above another. In Romans 14:5, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. If you wear them shoes unto Nike, the Greek goddess of victory, then maybe you shouldn't wear those shoes. But if you wear those shoes and your conscience isn't, you're not even thinking about it, then it's not a sin, right, to wear those shoes.
God.
Yazaya Yasha'ar, Shalom King, what was they dipping the bread in on the Last Supper? They call it sop, right? Sop. I'm gonna pull it up in the Greek, so we can look into that, right? It wasn't lamb gravy. I believe in that movie, Book of Clarence. They were saying they called it gravy. He said he don't like Mary's gravy. It's not talking about lamb gravy, right? So let's go into this word sop in the Greek, and it's samion, and it means a crumb or a morsel as if rubbed off, a sop, a mouthful. The sop is the bread, but then what they dipped it in, it doesn't necessarily say, right? It doesn't necessarily say what they dipped it in, right? Scriptures don't say what the sop was dipped in, right? Through the spirit of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. Right? Now, now when you look it up, they say sauce. It's not really much that they go into it. You get a lot of different answers. Right? You get a lot of different answers, but the sop is the bread, but what they dipped it in doesn't necessarily say. One answer says a piece of food dipped or stepped in a liquid. Right? It could have been olive. People put olive. It could have been olive oil. It could have been a lot. It could have been many things. Right? It doesn't necessarily say. All right. Let's see what we got through the spirit. Let's see. Is wild arugula? Is that arugula? Arugula. Is wild arugula good for a bitter herb? I will have to see.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I haven't heard of wild red arugula. Let's see. Right, that's something you may have to inquire. You can just look up and see is it bitter or not. They say it's often wild red arugula, a variety known for its vibrant color and bold flavor, is indeed often described as having a bitter, peppery, and pungent taste. Right? So they say it has a bitter taste. I've never had it. You might want to try before Passover, right? You might want to try that out before Passover to see if it's bitter or not, right? You might want to try that out before Passover.
Yeah, it looked like lettuce.
Okay, Con. Okay, Con. Okay, from Aaron Q-Man. Are you allowed to work during the Feast of Unleavened Bread? I know the first and the last day of Sabbath. So somebody asked that earlier. Yeah, you could work, but you can't work or buy or sell on that first and that last day. right? That first and that last day are Sabbaths, right? So we at the end of the chat for questions. All praise to the Most High.
All praises to the Most High.
All praise. It's been a while since we did that. So we could bring our closing precepts through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Hoshai.
Let's go. You want to go first?
You go first.
Let's go to Daniel 7 and verse number 18. Right. Also, we have the Instagram, we have the email. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. Right. There's no such thing as a dumb question or a question that you may deem is not of importance. Right. Most High willing, we'll try to answer in a timely manner. Right. But this is Daniel chapter 7 and verse number 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Right? So as we get into this Passover, right, you want to, or the Passover season, you want to get your mind ready to understand that we're in the birth pains ready to be delivered. Right? We're getting ready to be thrust through the birth canal into everlasting paradise, right? Into everlasting dominion and kingdoms and slaves and everlasting life, right? So you have to prepare yourself spiritually, right, to possess the kingdom. How do you prepare yourself spiritually to possess the kingdom? By shedding off the things that make you a peasant in this world, right? And I'm not calling anybody a peasant or less than a king like the Most High said you were, or a daughter of Zion, but our actions can take away from our royalty. So we have to prepare ourselves to be royal, right? Move more royally. Speak as a king. Speak as a princess, right? Address your brother as a brother or a king, right? Address your sister as a princess, right? So we got to start getting our mind ready to be royalty, right? Chiefly as we move into this Passover season where we're supposed to be removing leaven. So everything that's making us fall short, everything that's making us not reach perfection like the Lord commanded of us, we got to shed it and get rid of it, right? And with that, I say shalom.
I don't know. Praise the Most High. I just want to get John, right? 11 and 55. Boy, let's see if they give me this. I want John because it's Passover season coming up, man. A lot of Israel is in the Passover spirit, right? John 11 and 55. And the Jews' Passover was nigh at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. So it was tradition and custom to purify yourself before the Passover. And every brother and sister and family should be working on that. Purifying your mind, your body, examining yourself, purifying your spirit, seeing what the leaven is in you. You struggling with lust? Are you trying to fight that and purge that demon out? Do you struggle with anger? Are you fighting that and purging that demon out through fasting, prayer, counsel, meditation? Every brother should be washing himself with the word of the Most High, reading the Gospels. You might be reading the Genesis or Exodus and getting ready for these accounts. Purify yourself before the Passover. Our forefathers said just rush in and stuff their face with the lamb. They understood the severity of it, and they went through the ceremonial rites to purify themselves before Passover. So with that, we're going to close up, giving our honor and glory to Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, Kwam Lake Bashad, Brother Naquam,
Brother Amos.
Kwam Yashab, Shalom.
Shalom.
More praise to the Most High.